All right, so today we're going to talk about the last way to find roots on a quadratic equation, and it is using the quadratic formula. So hopefully you watched the video with the song. Quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And we just talked about in our last lesson that this was our discriminant. And that tells you exactly how many roots we have. Now, if you really want to work through all of this, this talks about how you can go from your standard form quadratic equation all the way down to the quadratic formula. When in fact, that's not something you need to know. What you do need to know is that the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus b, the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This is on your formula chart, and your a cannot be 0 when you do this, because if a is 0 when you do this, then you end up with dividing by 0, and we know we can't do that. So let's see exactly how this works. So to apply the quadratic formula, we need to make sure we're in standard form. Sometimes we're not, so we need to manipulate the equation to make sure a, b, and c are all on the same side. And then we can substitute our numbers in. We can write our solutions in simplest radical form, or if you want to use your calculator and write it as a decimal. So here, I'm going to actually do this over on the side because we know when we have it all jumbled up like this, it gets very, very confusing. So it starts off with x squared minus 3 equals 6x. So this is not in standard form. So I'm going to minus 6x from both sides, and I get x squared minus 6x minus 3 equals 0. So my a is 1, my b is a negative 6, and my c is a negative 3. And now we're going to plug into that formula that we were just talking about. Now, you'll notice it says negative b. Okay, well, b is already negative, so now we're going to make it positive. So essentially, it's the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared. You can write negative 6 squared. If you wanted to write 36, you could. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 3, all over 2 times 1. Now, our calculator is super smart. We could actually type that whole thing in there, and it would go ahead and solve it for us. We could also solve it into simplest form on our own. So we would get 36. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times negative 3 is a positive 12 all over 2. And I know, oh, I'm sorry, this was a positive 3 originally. That actually changes things. So this would actually make this a minus. I apologize for that. Be careful with your signs. That's what I've always told you. Minus 12. All right, so x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 24 over 2. Now, 24 simplifies to 3 times 8, and we know 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So we can simplify 24. 6 plus or minus 2 on the square root of 6 all over 2. Now, this dividing by 2 means we're actually doing both of these by 2. So we can say 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the simplest form would be 3 plus the square root of 6 and 3 minus the square root of 6. And if you put that into your calculator, you should get this. But for our purposes, you can stop here, and I'm going to be perfectly fine. And here they show you where you simplified that. So I'm going to do a couple of examples with you. We'll start with letter A. And again, that is not in simplest form. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move my 4x and my 3. So I get 3x squared minus 4x minus 3 equals 0. A is 1. B is negative 4. C is negative 3. So now I'm going to plug my numbers in. So x equals negative b. B is already negative, so it becomes positive, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now I'm going to continue to simplify here. 4 plus or minus, I know that this, I'm going to go ahead and simplify this in one step. This is 16 plus 12 is 28, so the square root of 28 all over 2. And I know that 28 is 4 and 7, so 2 and 2. So I can simplify this to 4 plus or minus 2 on the square root of 7 divided by 2. Now remember, this 2 is going to simplify both of these. So I can simplify that even further to x equals 2 divided by 2 is, or 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is 1. The square root of 7. So x equals 2 minus the square root of 7. For letter B, if you want to pause me and try it yourself and then come back, I'll talk you through it. So welcome back. So on B, we were not in standard form. X squared plus 4x plus 2. So then I can come over here and say A is 1, B is 4, C is 2. So x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Oh, hold on. Let me go back to letter A. My A was not 1. My A was 3. That actually changes some stuff here. Let me go back and fix this. I apologize. If A is 3, then this is a 6. 4 plus or minus 2 on the square root of 7 over 6. And now we're just going to simplify it then. I apologize. I totally messed up. 2 over 3 plus or minus 2 over 6 is 1/3. So 2. So 7. You could put the 1 if you wanted. We could also even write this as x is equal, because we have the same denominator, 2 plus the square root of 7 over 3. I apologize. I forgot that A was not 1 on that one. All right, back to number 2. Negative 4 plus or minus, so this is 16 minus 8. So this is the square root of 8 over 2. And I know that the square root of 8 is 2 on the square root of 2. So we're really dividing both of these by 2. So we finally get x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. And that is the quadratic formula. So hopefully you did okay on that. There'll be a couple of practice problems. Do not hesitate also, if we come back to this, to graph these. So we could read all of this. We go back to letter A, but we need to put it in with everything in standard form. So we would say 3x squared minus 4x minus 3. 3x squared minus 4x minus, helps if I hit tab, minus 4x minus 3. And had I done this to check my work to begin with, I probably would not have made that mistake. So remember, menu, we're looking for our zeros. And then we would do the second one. I'm going to move that so I can see that. And then when I go to my calculator, we had originally gotten 2 plus or minus, so we would have to put it in separately. 2 plus the square root of 7 over 3. 2 plus square root of 7 over 3 is at 1.54. So if I go back to my calculator, oh, I'm off some. I may have done something wrong. Let's see what the other one is. 2 minus the square root of 7. It's not letting me make that a fraction. That's fine, we'll do it this way. Divided by 3. Oh, I did something wrong. So let us see what happened. plus 12. Did I have my signs right? Oh, again, the A. So again, I put 1 as the A, which messed up everything. So this would be 9 times 4 is 36, which changes all of this. I do apologize. 36 is 52, which is going to be 2 and 26. So that changes quite a bit. So we have 4 plus or minus 2, because we have a pair of 2's on the square root of 13 over 6, 2 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 3. Let's try that one. I got so used to A being 1. 2 plus the square root of 13 over 3. Oh my, I'm just having all kinds of issues today. 1.86, is that what we originally? 1.87, so there you go. So that was the issue. And then we could even, I'm just going to copy since I'm apparently having quite a bit of trouble. There you go, that negative 0.53. All right, so we're all better now. There's a couple of ones for you to practice. Please let me know if you have any questions, and don't be afraid to check on your calculator.